So I work as a psychotherapist, and there's this metaphor that keeps coming up in the sessions with my clients, and I wanted to share it here on the podcast. Also, it came up in class. I taught a meditation class a few days ago, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and before the class, I was in the car, and I was thinking of a metaphor that I could use in the class to guide the class, because I think in metaphors a lot, and I was looking for one, and then finally it came to me. It's like, why not use the one that you use all the time in your therapy sessions? It's very relatable, I think, and I also think that it's very true for a lot of people. The metaphor that I use is, imagine yourself walking around holding a 5-gallon pot of water, and your arms are wrapped around the pot, and over time the pot fills up to the brim with water. I kind of think of that as our emotions. And when we fill the pot up to the brim and there's no more space to fill up with water, the water starts to spill over. There was a woman in the meditation class that commented that when we were sitting in meditation, she just had a single tear come down the side of her face while she was sitting in meditation. She kind of related that to just spilling over, just that much. I think of it like, if we don't empty out that bucket every now and again, then we run the risk of, if we bump into something or something triggers us, then when we're holding this 5-gallon pot of water, we run the risk of the emotion just spilling over. That's why sometimes I will have clients come in, either meditation participants or psychotherapy clients, and they'll tell me that they're just crying out of nowhere, or they just get very angry out of nowhere, and they can't pinpoint why they're feeling sad or why they're feeling angry, or maybe they can't even identify it as anger or sadness. They'll just feel emotion, just pure emotion. Sometimes in session, actually a lot of times in session, psychotherapy sessions, my clients will have emotion that comes up, and I will point it out, and I will say, it seems like there's some emotion here. What would you call this emotion? What is this? And it's not uncommon for people to say, I don't know. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know why I'm feeling it. And this is kind of like that pot brimming over, spilling over with emotion. When it gets to be so much emotion that is in us that we're not processing from prior life events, then it will just kind of find its way out. Because that's what is happening when I say find its way out. When we have emotion in us, it wants to find its way out. That's why when we cry, that is a release of the emotion that's in us out of us. The same way when we have an angry outburst, if we yell, or if we get angry enough to hit something, it's a release of what is in us. I think it's our body's way of saying, I can't hold on to this anymore. And if you're not going to feel it, then the body has its own intelligence that takes over and says, like, okay, it's time to feel it, whether you're ready or not. So we have this limit of how much emotion we can hold. And if we don't process the emotion or lower the water level every once in a while, then we run the risk of spilling over. So how do we manage this? How do we lower the water level so we're not brimming over? This is where there's a lot of different ways depending on who you are and what works for you, but this is, going for a run in the morning. This is sitting for 10 minutes in meditation. This is going to therapy. If you don't go to therapy, then maybe starting therapy. This is basically self-care, whatever that might look like for you. I often tell my clients, when they come into therapy, it's kind of like a time when they take their 5-gallon bucket and they just tip it over a little and pour some of that water out and leave it there with me. And then they can continue throughout their week. And if things are triggering for them, or if things get stressful at home or at work, then we might fill up the bucket a little more and get to that point where we just find ourselves randomly crying or randomly yelling, or triggered at something that is that's seemingly not that upsetting. So, for example, I don't know why this is coming to mind, but you're online at Ben and Jerry's, and the person in front of you is taking a long time to order it, and you just find yourself getting frustrated. A lot of times it's not about that. I mean, unless it's taking, a really long time, then maybe it could just be just about that. But a lot of times it's about other things that are going on in our lives, and it's about that emotion building up. So really, it's about managing that water level. One way we can do that is to sit in meditation. I also think that when we sit in meditation, we connect with a larger experience, a bigger experience than just emotion or thought. So I use the example of, it's like changing our bucket to a 10-gallon bucket. So we've filled up this bucket with 5 gallons of water, or stress, emotion, whatever. But when we sit in meditation, it's like pouring those 5 gallons of water into a new bucket that is 10 gallons. And now there's 5 gallons of space. So it's the same level of stress, it's the same level of emotion, but we are connecting with this larger space that can hold it. So we're not brimming over, we're not spilling over with emotion. It's the same level of emotion, but we've changed our container, or connected with the larger container that is already there. Because I believe we all have the ability to connect with this larger space that includes emotion as part of it in the experience. One way that we can go about doing this is you can listen to other episodes of the podcast that are guided meditations and incorporate that into your life, sitting in meditation and seeing what it feels like. Maybe sometimes you'll sit in meditation and without even understanding why, you'll just start crying, or you'll just start getting angry or upset or whatever. To me, that is a release of that emotion that is in you. So, managing the water levels. Okay, I use this metaphor a lot, so I figured I'd put it on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed.